Hello, everyone. It is interview time. And yes, this is April starting the interview. Actually, I think maybe for the first or maybe second time of the 5.5 years we've been doing this podcast. Amy will be joining us. She's popping in, driving frantically back from Burning Man. And I'm sure she'll be sweaty and full of playa dust, but that'll be great energy for this episode because we're very excited. This was a delayed episode because we tried to connect with these two brilliant minded humans a couple of times before, and we kept getting things like random things in the way that now it's meant to be. Now we finally get to drop in. We have jet-setting Jasmine and King Noire here, and they are really master fetish trainers. They have the ability to talk a lot about fetishes. And also, when we talked about kind of what this episode would be about, there was a really cool thing that King had mentioned that I think we'll drop into more when the episode gets going, but I'm really excited for you to share that with our audience. So without further ado, Jasmine and King, will you please, as we typically do on Shameless Sex, will you tell everyone about how you got to where you are today in the field of sexuality?
Happy to. Thanks for having us. So it's been a long walk. But how I have arrived at where we are today is really combining so much of my personal experience, lived experience in exploring my own sex and sexuality, as well as my learned experience as a professional licensed clinical therapist. And so combining the desire to get more into sex work and to use sex work as a space to be able to try so many awesome, cool things in terms of kinks and fetishes and sex in a safe container. And then also applying the things that I was studying and also applying to my career in human behavior has led to where I am now, which is providing education and training to folks, whether it's couples, groups, up and coming sex therapists, medical professionals, other content creators, the general public on how to have healthy relationships with intimacy and sex. It has led to my practice with working with sex workers and folks that have all types of all makes and models of relationship styles in a therapeutic setting. It's led to having a sex positive family that we get to love on and watch them explore this world shamelessly around sex, but also that we get to share with the world and normalize what it is to have a sex positive family, how to be sex workers in this very, very stigmatized industry and still have an incredibly beautiful and thriving, successful family, if I may say so myself. So it really has been a combination, as well as loving this human next to me and being able to explore our relationship in so many awesome, unique ways, and to explore sex with this beautiful human next to me. And that has really informed all of my work as a master fetish trainer.
Yeah. Ooh, yes, that's a good intro.
Story. Yeah.
It's been a walk.
I feel like if you start your book from one space and my book from the other space, then we just culminate somewhere. And my story pretty much started, I got started in sex work from when I was legally able to do so at 18, and I've probably held every imaginable sex work job, from driver to performer to fetish trainer to, holding the camera, performing in front of the camera, all of that. But then also for my entire life, from the family that I was raised in, I was just raised to be involved in my community and raised to be involved in things within the world to try and make the world a better place and leave it better for my children. And then I arrived in it and all of that good stuff. So that I'm also a hip hop musician and an artist. So just mixing my music and being able to tour the world off of music and then bringing that experience into sexuality and, all of those things together has led to the place that I'm in now, where I feel like I am able to unapologetically be myself, across the board. Sexuality is a part of that, and be able to share it with the world, because I am a full-fledged exhibitionist.
I love a good exhibitionist.
And Amy has arrived, everyone.
I'm here.
Look at that. Look at that clean intro entry. We did it.
I just walked in literally like a minute ago and like drenched.
You actually
in sweat.
smell pretty good.
I did shower after Burning
that's
Man.
good.
I just got back from Burning Man, but I did actually take a shower last night.
I already told everyone. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, Amy's going to pop in here.
Yeah, definitely. I am like covered in playa.
You did miss King's photo, though. That was up before they were on video because it was really nice. So
oh, damn it. You
can see it after.
Okay,
You'll see it after.
Shit. Okay, well.
Censored version.
Well, and for those watching on YouTube, they can see it on YouTube. Maybe it's somebody on the recording. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
Or they'll just follow you online. So, okay. So, there's so much that we would like to ask you and talk to you about, but let's talk about fetish. First, what is a fetish? And what does it mean to be a master fetish trainer? That sounds so interesting to me. What does this kind of work entail?
Sure. Well, first and foremost, a fetish is anything that turns you on that is not directly related to procreation. We all have fetishes. We all engage in our fetishes, even when we don't know what the terminology is for it or the dictionary definition, right? So being a master fetish trainer means that we help people find, discover, experience, and live their fetishes in safe and orgasmic ways.
I love that. I love that definition of fetish, of it being, it's very broad. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people with identify fetish as just like something that's alternative and weird, or or different. And yours is just, it sounds like it has a more broad and open acceptance of the diversity of sexuality.
For sure. I think a lot of times people make the mistake when they think of like alternative to what? Mm-hmm. It's like, if you're doing doggy style and not missionary, does that somehow classify you outside of a certain box? And really, when it comes to sexuality, there are no boxes for it. We're all different, and we all arrive at our fetishes in different ways. Like, you and I might have the same fetish for exhibitionism, but we might have it from, okay, I know I like to be seen any and everywhere. You might be like, well, I only like to be seen on my podcast. You know what I'm saying? So it's like everybody might have these similar fetishes, but there are so many different ways to experience them.
I have a question also related to fetishes then, because I've often thought of it as like a spectrum. Here, you can hear my playa voice there. April, I did lose my voice a little bit. She's like, you better come back with a voice. A spectrum where, because there are some folks who have a fetish, is my understanding, correct me, because you'll know more about this than I will, but some folks who their fetish is what they need to feel aroused, whereas some folks, I think, say that feel they have a fetish, but they don't have to have it to be aroused. They can be aroused in other ways too. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I am along the same thought. I think when people have those very particular ways of how they describe their fetish, that's perfectly fine for them. For some folks, they have multiple fetishes or layered fetishes, right? And so even the folks who's like, if I just like to have missionary sex and that's the way that I have my orgasm, then that might be my fetish, right? Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times people are saying, well, no, like it has to be, like it has to be this alternative thing, this different type of kink to make it a fetish. And we like to really, as you say, open up that umbrella, normalize how sort of popular your fetish may be, such as missionary, perhaps only, right? Or how particular or unique that it may be to, you have to have something layered, perhaps. So I also like to even move people to a certain degree away from the word fetish and just sort of talk about kink. Right? Mm-hmm. Like, what's your kink? So it doesn't matter if you have an orgasm to it or not, if you, or reach a particular climax or not. It's just an activity that you enjoy doing that may be somewhat against your own grain.
Mm-hmm. Now, and that's the thing. When I think about fetishes or fetishizing something, which we talked about, like people with freckles or unicorns or whatever people are fetishizing, I always kind of interlay those things with kink, and it's like almost an umbrella situation. And I don't know, are those two things related? Because in my Midwestern conservative brain, which I haven't lived there in forever, I'm like, oh, I'm not kinky, but I really like this. Is that my fetish? Are those two things? Are they like cousins? Are they stepchildren? Are they what are they related? Or can you kind of talk about that? Right?
Is kink fetishes uncle?
Yeah, they are related. So the way that that I like to look at that approach is, so kink is even larger umbrella, and under those kinks are lots of different fetishes, right? That might be a way of sort of visualizing it. But the other thing is that kink is so subjective. So in the Midwest, in this particular town where you were raised, maybe there are things.
Don't say we like cows, okay? It was not. No, I'm just kidding.
But since you brought it, no.
She has a cheese fetish.
Yeah, cheese. I'm into cheese.
Okay. We'll go with cheese.
Yes, because bestiality is not a fetish.
No. It has to be consensual, everyone.
Exactly. So, it may be really, really acceptable to have like sex and involve food, specifically fondue, because there's just an abundance of cheese there, right? And so that may not be even kinky for you. But where we live here in Florida, like perhaps that is like, oh my gosh, that's so weird. That's so different. That is, how do people even get off to that?
I feel like there are a lot of retirees having fondue sex parties, though.
we just haven't reached that age where we've gotten invited to them yet.
To the retiree swinger kinky
that sounds
fondue
fun.
sex party.
Like, I want to eat fondue off your body.
I want to do that. I want it out of your belly button. April's gonna
clean it first.
Right? She's like, don't do that off your face. She's
but even
not into that either.
About you coming in from Burning Man, right, and thinking like you've been defiled by like this space and all these people and sweaty and haven't well, you did say you showered and you ruined my whole defilement fantasy, but whatever. That could really be a thing. But for all the folks that are at Burning Man, it's just like, yeah, we were just all here and
yeah.
Right?
Well, Burning, one of beautiful,
yeah.
and I know this podcast isn't about Burning Man, but one of the things I love about it is in the everyday world, we can't walk around naked because it's not consensual, right? Like if I walk down the street, it's not consensual because they're not saying they necessarily want to see my bits. At Burning Man, though, that's like off the table. People are just walking around naked all over the place. And that's not all that Burning Man is. There's plenty of people that are clothed, but a lot of people get to this free space because it's radical self-expression. And it's an interesting thing because I was thinking about that with consent and maybe naked isn't their fetish. Some people just identify as nudists and that's just like a lifestyle for them. It might not be a fetish for them, but people get to walk around, with their junk hanging out and they're not in a place where people are like, put that away, inappropriate. Now, if they were just masturbating out on the playa, that could be a thing. Although
that's what I was going to ask though.
I did see some people fucking on the playa though. I definitely did. And it was not in the orgy dome.
I've lived in countries where I was followed by men like 2 different times in Italy and in Spain. Not saying that this happens, but I was followed by someone that dropped their drawers and started masturbating. And I was like, I was like 19. I was like, dude, that's not cool. If someone did to me at Burning Man, I'd be fucking pissed. Be like, bro, I don't care if that's your fetish. I'm not consenting.
There you go.
Once consent is out of it, it is not. It's not a mutual thing. Like you can have a masturbation fetish when you're alone in your own space, but once you start including other people, then that's borderline, or actually is like sexual assault.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, not.
So once consent is taken out of it, it's like the same kind of thing. Like it might be your fetish to put someone on a leash and walk them around. Perfectly fine within your own space or in a dungeon where people are consensual to that type of behavior. But if you just walk somebody down the street like that, then you're no longer in a space where people are consenting to.
Mm-hmm. And I think something really is important, and this is huge about the work that we do, is that people do have unhealthy fetishes, right? Mm-hmm. People do have unhealthy sexual behaviors. And one of the things that we do is help people, as King said, live their fantasies and fetishes out in a safe and healthy way. Mm-hmm. So sometimes our work may intersect and we have to go, oh, that actually, while that may be something that brings you excitement and that brings you sexual pleasure, that's not consensual. That is not, it's not healthy. It is illegal. And we need to refer you or, pause, and we need to consider addressing this in a totally different way. Yeah. So that I think is important. And also for us that we are a part of the kink lifestyle, the BDSM lifestyle, the all the lifestyles and
all the styles.
Yeah, all the styles. It's really
Except for the retiree party.
Yeah, not yet. Not yet. All right.
We're working.
We're gonna get there. We're
Yeah.
gonna get there.
That is a goal.
Yeah.
But of all of these lifestyles, it is really important for us to show that there is a difference between how we respect each other in that lifestyle. So as you're saying, this large, very free environment, you can still be violated in that environment because now we're crossing what works for one person in that space versus the other.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in our places and spaces that we bring people, retreats that we have, workshops that we host, we really talk about how important it is to respect the lifestyle, the people that are in the lifestyle, and how to guide and usher folks that really want to be free in those spaces, but have to learn what boundaries are around fetishes and kinks.
Which you have. So Royal Fetish Films is a multi-award winning, 3-time award winning plus. So you have to tell us more about this. And King has the shirt on, which is a really dope. It's the crest. It's the crest that's really good. It's like 2 crowns. If you
want to send us some of those shirts.
Yeah, those shirts are badass. So please tell us all more about Royal Fetish Films and what that kind of entails and all the things that kind of circumvent this beautiful mission.
So
we started.
Well, wait, even before we start, we have to correct her bio. She said 3-time award.
Oh shit.
Oh, that's what I said. Multi. I
wrote it. I was wrong. Lo siento.
No, we just won 2 more at FetCon. What was that, like 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, right after we spoke with before we were supposed to speak with you.
I'm a humble flex real quick. I won best male cam fetish performer and best male fetish performer for the year.
I can see why.
Awesome.
PS, because I mean, I wouldn't mind watching you do some things on film. Okay, I'm not gonna lie.
I want to watch both of you.
Okay, and both of you, Jasmine. Yes, I just have to say it. So I hope that's consensual. I'm just saying.
It is. I'm an exhibitionist. I told y'all. So come on my next OnlyFans live or something. Come have some fun.
Yeah, hell yeah.
But so we started Royal Fetish Films. Was it like 10 years ago now? Because we did not see ourselves reflected in the adult entertainment industry. I had already been in some shoots and some scenes and done like live shows and all kinds of stuff. And I had stepped away from the industry for a little bit. And Jasmine was a consumer at the time. And we started working together and doing parties, bachelorette parties and birthdays, divorce parties, run down the list. And people at our parties would also say, I do not see myself reflected, and this goes to what we were talking about earlier. A lot of films and the porn industry in general fetishized Black people as a fetish, not as human beings engaging in a fetish. So we wanted to make and create films that reflected the full gambit of Black sexuality and passion and kink and fetishes and all of these things, and to show that it can be done in a beautiful way and that we can engage and enjoy and partake in fetishes, because a lot of times people would get into this like, oh, that's some white people shit. Or if we were trying to go to certain clubs or be in certain places, white people would not want to have us involved or allowed into those types of spaces, not really thinking that people have probably been liking to get their ass spanked for thousands and thousands and thousands of years all across the entire planet.
It's not brand new. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's also not racially specific, right? But if you watched porn in America, you would think that Asian people only worked as masseuses, Spanish people only as maids, and Black folk, men specifically, only were allowed to fuck people in prison. You know what I'm saying? So, and Black women are hardly ever shown in any films back in the day. So it's like we wanted to change that, and that's how we got started.
Yeah, so I'm gonna lean on you for this a little bit. When I like to think, I know that Royal Fetish Films has changed the culture of the adult industry with respect to how we have placed our culture in the film industry. And now this is the part where I need your help. In order for something to have culture, it has to be represented in what ways?
Yeah. So music,
So the music in our films, check it out. What else? The clothing,
language, clothing,
yeah,
a written
form,
language, written form as well.
So
And the Navy.
And the Navy, we're working on that.
Yeah, and Navy.
Wait, gotta go.
They got the Navy. No.
In the Navy. Yeah.
So when you think about when you actually experience our films, what you're going to see from the changing of the culture is the conversations that we have are not scripted to the typical porn scripts. That was something that I was having a really hard time as a consumer, is that I could not connect with the people that looked like me, but they would have them sound. And I met some of these people, and they're really intelligent, interesting people, but they were always casted in a particular way that I was just like, I wouldn't want to fuck that person, right? And then you meet them, and you're like, well, why would they dumb you down in that way? But it's to fit that box. You're gonna hear music, whether it's King Noire's original music or music that makes us feel sexy and is relevant to the time. Like, people can actually say what a porn song sounds like. That means that it's been used and overused and, so much.
The bounce chicka wow wow, come on.
Or boogie nights. Yeah.
So, we use original artists, original producers in our music. The written language, the descriptions don't say, BBC fucks a MILF. It's like a whole storyline and erotica in it. The attire, you will see everything from waist beads to head wraps to sneakers, things that are very, commonplace and that we're really proud of in our culture. And we brought that into our film along with our kinks. So that is why.
And on top of all that, we don't fetishize other human beings of other races.
Or gender
expression or anything like that.
So if we're doing a scene with someone who, let's just say a trans performer, that's not the focus. The focus is, what are the kinks of the two performers that are performing, and how can we bring that expression to light? So that's why we're a multi-award winning film company.
You need way more than 5 fucking awards, y'all.
Yep.
Because that is dope. Thank you. I have to just say
we gotta talk to XBiz about this.
That's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah. I don't know if well, so I arrived a little late, everyone, and I have heard your bio, and I think you were probably sharing more about this. And so your work, you're very passionate about decolonizing sex for Black and brown people, is something that you stated that you're in. And one question I want to ask about that is, because we're talking about fetishes, how can someone, and maybe safe isn't the right word, safely or respectfully, like, so say someone really does have a fetish for watching a Black man with a big cock fuck a tiny Asian woman, that really gets them off. That's their, how do they respectfully consume porn or you utilize that fetish, like if that's really a thing, just a thing for them? Because I know there still is these stereotypes, but I guess maybe would what you're offering be a place for them to be able to still kind of like explore that in a safe place where they're not shamed for having this thing, but they're also not like putting people in these categories in the way most porn does. So I don't know if that question makes sense, but
no, it does. It makes a lot of sense. And I think, especially because we're on specifically like Shameless sex podcast, right? It's so important for us when people are trying to explore how they came to their fetishes, whether appropriate or inappropriate, healthy or unhealthy. How do we help them work through that with as little shame as possible, right? And so I think when you're explaining that scenario, a lot of people have preferences for, perhaps they identify with one of the people, or one of the people in that film, or maybe that was the first film that they ever watched, or the first genre that they ever watched, and it's comforting to go back to like what works, right?
Or you dated somebody who these people remind you of,
or you want to date one of, you know what I mean? It's something that, or even like you want to sort of embody what it may feel like to have that body type, perhaps, right? There's so many reasons that bring us to that point. I think it's really important for us, the listeners that are here, to really understand how you are approaching that porn, right?
Mm-hmm.
What brings you to it? Is it these spaces of respect? Is it these things that you can really feel proud of, at least calling in here? Let's just say if you could call into this show where we're also open about sex and sexuality, could you feel comfortable with your sharing your preference for watching that style of porn? Or is there a layer of shame because it is a bit racist? Is there something about it that you like about maybe seeing that person be powerless? Or is it something that mirrors what you see in day-to-day life, where these stereotypes about Black men all having big cocks and Asian women being submissive? Do those stereotypes carry into your pleasure, you know?
And do those stereotypes then frame how you engage with Black men and Asian women outside in the world?
Right.
You know, like if you meet an Asian woman that's not petite, are you then questioning her Asianness?
Right.
If you meet a Black man and you don't know what his dick size is, are you trying to find out for absolutely no reason? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or are you referencing like, you must have a big dick because you're a Black guy? You know what I'm saying? Like, are you able to now separate this porn that I watched from the people that you meet in the everyday? You know, I think that that's where it does become a little problematic at times because, you know, especially when we're talking about porn that's not royal fetish porn, where, you know, it might be set up like you never see this man's face, right? Like now all you think about is, you know, Black men are only our dicks, right? Or if you see this Asian woman and she has absolutely no autonomy or say for what happens in that scene within the framework of the scene. Like she doesn't speak, she doesn't anything like that. So then, you know, now when you have a society that already kind of says like Black men don't care about women, or Asian women, as Jasmine said, are subservient to men, you know, so then it kind of keeps you stuck in this particular stereotype. So how are you then when you are outside of watching your porn?
Yeah. So we really want people that are willing to challenge what they watch, how they consume it, and how it has an impact on them. We really want to challenge like these kind of questions that you should have with yourself. Right. There have been times when I've had to sort of look at what I was watching and, am I fetishizing this group of people? What are my, you know, and start to get curious about what else do I know about this group of people, this community of sex workers, perhaps. What do I know anyone in that community? What about this content is arousing to me? And just really sort of check myself so that way I can feel good. You know, we always talk about like ethical porn, but I think that some of that ethics falls on the consumer as well. How are you consuming this work? And then for us, just from the other end, from behind the camera, we feel that it's really important that not only do we put the films out there, but that we also normalize and humanize the performers. So we do the before interview and the after interview when they're out of character.
Oh, you show that.
I love that.
I think that's so important. Yeah.
It is important because then people can also connect to this person outside of just that sexual act, right? And so not everyone can go out, depending on where you live, in the cheese factory or whatever, and just like meet the most diverse group of people ever. It's not, you know, or sometimes when you're like connecting with the internet, unfortunately, it does take you down a fetish sort of space. But if you can connect with that human just for a couple of moments before or after you engage with them sexually, then we're sort of hopefully helping to broaden that perspective where we're not fetishizing people, but we are enjoying our sexual preference.
Yeah. And one last thing I would like to say about that, where decolonizing comes into it, is also the root of these things, right? Like I'm sure we can all agree there are big dicks of all shapes, sizes, and colors across the spectrum of humanity. But Black men are specifically fetishized for their penises because of slavery in America and the purpose of why we were here, which was to create more humans to make America more money. So a lot of times Black men are completely framed around the size of their penis for that reason. And then also white men raped so many Black men, Black women, and Black children during the time of slavery that they began to fear the same thing happening to them and their families. So in order to make the fear even greater and the hatred even greater was to completely fetishize and dehumanize. So bestiality, making a human a beast. So for all these other things, really, if people want to read just up on it, the book Mandingo and the story of Mandingo was all about a slave owner who raped all these people on his plantation and then was afraid that a slave named Mandingo was going to sleep with his wife. So he created all of these ideas of what would make Mandingo make his wife no longer love him and leave him, but he feels that Mandingo is inferior to him. So how do you make someone inferior? You take away their brain and make their body the only thing that matters. Oh, they're stronger, they're big dicks, they're this, they're this, they're this. So I think a lot of times when it comes to the decolonization of everything, it's like in porn, for what people look for, people might like dicks of a certain size, regardless of the color, or maybe they do like certain hues on performers or whatever. But I do think that when it comes down to like how you humanize this person in your own mind, right? Like if you think this person is only good for this because of their color, then you're definitely fetishizing that person instead of enjoying a fetish.
Well, you have to know you're making positive change isn't a big enough word for what you're doing, not only for the adult industry, but I think for humanity in general, because we could all, even outside of the world of sexuality, we could all, I know, and I'll speak for myself, but I know even my most like conscious and woke friends, sometimes we generalize, we do that. That's our brains like categorizing things. And I think, when I grew up in Wisconsin, it's like not all fucking Wisconsin people are cheeseheads. I'm lactose intolerant. It was a joke, it's like, dude. So it's like or I'm always like, I love all things French. I'm like, wait, no, not really. Like there's right. So but it's like we kind of categorize these things, and I think, but in the world of sexuality, it's so much deeper because these are things that we sometimes are unconscious of. We don't know even where they come from. Is it from a dream or is it from something that you really want? And I really value what y'all are doing. I want to talk a little bit more because we have talked about that, and you can go deeper into that. But the sex toys. I love talking about sex toys. You have your own sex toy line. So I'd also like to talk about that if you want to.
For sure.
I love talking about sex toys all day, though.
We could do it all day.
Okay, awesome. So I feel like we need your address because we got sure.
Oh yeah, we
we'll send some to you.
Royal Fetish box.
Awesome.
Oh please! Oh, that sounds great.
So I'll let you start with, because King's toy was the first toy on our line, and then we've just been bonkers since then. But I'll let you start.
So honestly, it started from, I don't know, like a long time ago. I had an ex that was like, I wish I could just have a sex toy of your dick because we didn't live anywhere near each other.
Or exact replica.
And then I was like, ooh, that's fucking awesome. I could fuck people from wherever. So
it's much more affordable that way.
Yeah.
And safer.
and also, whereas I am a whole human, I do like to be objectified. It is a turn on for me. It goes along with my exhibitionism and all of that kind of stuff. So it's kind of like, wow, I would really be interested in that. And I had a company reach out to me, but it was kind of like all the people that they had within this company, like all the dicks looked the same. I was just like, I know that these people, like I've been on set with some of these people before. Like their dicks are not the same, but why do their dicks look the same in this for this toy? So I was like, and then also I wanted to find something that was safe for the environment, safe for people's bodies. So I looked up a whole lot of companies and reached out to a bunch of companies and finally got into talks with Lust Arts. And Lust Arts is just completely awesome as a company because all of the things that I imagined and all of the things that Jasmine has imagined with her toy line as well has they've made come to life. So as Jazz mentioned earlier, you know, we like kicks and sneakers and stuff like that. And I am a sneakerhead. So being able to have my dildo in all kinds of colors that I would never dye my actual penis is fucking amazing. Because I'm like, yo, those joints match my Kobe 9s. You can have a pair of J's that match my dildo. Let's get it.
You're like me. I have like 200 pairs of shoes. I'm not even exaggerating. And they're all in boxes, shoe boxes. I'm obsessed. Sneakerhead, all the shoe head.
Now we just need to make some matching pussies.
She makes fun of me. I'm like, she's like, you got a lot of shoes, girl. I'm like,
a lot of shoes.
So the conversations with him and Les Arts, which is a woman-owned company, sex work friendly company, who's willing to work with people who actually have sex workers to create sex toys, which is huge. He's like, look at these shoes. And they work together to create matching, you know, shoes that go with scenes. And so his fans, they're like, oh, like, I love that scene. I love those sneakers. And he's able to be like, and here's the dick to go with it, right?
Yeah.
One of the things that I loved about the first mold that he did was it was actually in his likeness. And so like the veins were there, the gradation, which when we
the veins are on the shoe ones too, though.
Well, I know they're there.
Keep the veins.
I need to see these shoe ones you're talking about.
the coloration.
Yeah.
So, and I think the gradation, like the color gradation is so important because a lot of times when you go and you look, like maybe you don't want like a pink dick or something that looks silly. Like you want something that looks human. And we have gradation in our genitalia. And so it's real life like. Yeah. So we expanded the line because I am a femdom. I enjoy dominating. I enjoy pegging and all the many things. And not everyone can take King's dildo. So I wanted to expand our line to include the Queen's Command, which is 3 different sizes and different densities, because although King's is made in his likeness, we wanted to make something for people to train up to that size if they're interested or to stay where they're comfortable. Also wanted to create a line for other sex workers that enjoy domination. And so like, the sustainability mindset here was if you buy this set, like you're good to go with all your clients and all your fans. You have the tiny ones for if you do small dick humiliation to the Duchess, which is, you know, for somebody who is definitely more well-trained and willing to take on a challenge. So we have that. We have the edging bands, which were known as cock rings, but we call them edging bands because one, we don't even use the word cock like that. And 2, not everyone refers to their genitalia in that way. So it's just an edging band.
And also could be used for all kinds of other things too.
Yeah, bondage.
Use it for tying people up.
Yeah, soft bondage. And we decided to put little messages on there, commands on there, and also included it in Braille because we think it's important for everyone to be able to explore kink.
That's awesome.
So also, you know, when you think about it from a sensory standpoint, I think the sexiest language is Braille because it uses touch. So we definitely incorporate that. We have a line of impact play tools as well.
We just dropped a brand new line of impact tools.
And some of them are leather and some of them are rubber.
Some of them are metal.
Yeah. So we went from like vegan to leather. Yeah.
All the things going on over there.
And I think it's important for your audience, you know, for the audience to know that sex work is broad and that we are people who actually use the tools. We live the lifestyle. We train people on how to use them. And so why would you want to give your money to like, you know, just a company that
just saw a hole in the marketplace?
Right.
we go to sex toy trade shows a couple times a year, and so we see and not going to shout out any of the names of some of the companies, but see a lot of companies that just mass produce a whole bunch of stuff that you can tell, number one, they did not really especially a lot of things that are designed for vulvas.
I'm like, a dude totally designed this.
A vulva owner, a vulva owner did not design that, and there is a lot of objectification that you see, like big pieces of flesh, or like you know, big, like the big asses,
porn stars plastered over, and they're
with perfectly symmetrical pussies.
Like,
and it's realistic. It's also not helping people to see the diversity of sexuality. So I really appreciate that y'all are doing what you're doing, and it's so cool to hear new companies, new innovative companies, and new people, you know, people doing what you're doing, and you're doing so many things. So I want to ask you this. So our listeners love tips. So it's kind of like a little switch off here. But if you could give our listeners 3 top tips for what they can do to create a more sex positive world, or maybe a sexier world, but in a sex positive way, either within their own relationships with their body or partnerships, or with the world, the outside world, what would those tips be?
Wow.
You're like, I have like 20 of them.
I know, right? Well, the first one that I have is to explore, as much as you're comfortable and you can. So one of the lines that we focus on is pushing boundaries, and pushing our own boundaries, and helping people push their own boundaries. I think when we sort of think of what our sex, sort of like the longevity of our sex life, it can be, what do you want to fill it with? What do you want to experience? And even if it's something that you try once and you give yourself permission to try it and not like it, or to try it and love it, or to try it and keep trying it. I think that's so important, to give people permission, to give themselves permission to try new things. And those new things don't have to come from a list. They can come from your imagination. They can come from our porn. You be inspired.
Royal Fetish porn. I was going to say, watch
Yeah.
Royal Fetish. Yeah.
Got degrees in sexpert advice.
Yes.
You know the motto, never the same way twice.
That's your tip.
No, I was just building on what you were saying.
Okay. My second tip, and then if you have 2 or more.
Well, are we supposed to give 3 each, or 3 between?
You can do whatever you want.
Okay, I have one more.
Okay, go.
Okay, that one is use sex workers. Use sex workers.
All the time.
Yeah.
We're here.
Hire sex workers, whether to do like virtual cam shows to explore things. Like, we are not judging you. We are happy to do it. This is what we do. You want to talk about something kinky. You want to have an experience that maybe you can't rally up your girlfriends or your partners to do with you. Like, this is the job that sex workers have signed up for, and can help you do it safely.
I totally agree. And I would just add, I know you have something to say, share too, but paying sex workers, right? Because there's a lot of that free porn out there, and you're, it's taking people's content where they're using their bodies, their time, their energy that's their jobs, and a lot of them love their jobs too. And so when you go and look at free content, I mean, yes, maybe if you want to look at free content to get little snippets, but especially if you find people that you really like what they're doing.
The music industry, you have to support your artists, your performers. You have to.
No pirating.
No.
Unless it's a pirate kink, then that's cool.
Hey.
Pirate fetish.
I would say, as long as it does not involve children, animals, or people who say no or do not have the ability to say no, whether you're involved in it or not, let the shit be. If it's something that you're not particularly into, but doesn't fall under those categories that I just told you, and it's consenting adults enjoying themselves, leave it be. Mind your business. You don't need to shout them out at the PTA meeting, or, I don't know, try to write a law to stop them from being able to love one another.
Yeah. I love that. And one thing, last thing came to mind, April's going to ask you, so how they can work with you. But, so say, because we're talking about bestiality or pedophilia. So say someone does have an attraction to or fetish for young people. You can play that out with sex workers, right? Like, a sex worker could be like, okay, I'm going to pretend like I'm, like a 12-year-old bad girl or whatever. Like, there are ways, or puppy play. Like, I want to have sex with a puppy. Don't have sex with a fucking puppy, please. But your partner can wear a puppy tail and walk around and make little puppy sounds, or you can, and there's sex workers that do these things too. So I think it goes back to what you're saying before, that there are outlets that we can still potentially explore.
People
things
can draw
in
things, and
consensual
Pixar
ways.
can make cartoons that look very realistic too, right? That are not human. So we could use the art world in this realm as well.
Absolutely. So things like age play, whether people want to pretend to be littles, or like to engage in sort of daddy dom or mommy dom, or that type of play, that can definitely be done with an adult. Those impulses are seeming really strong, that you can't be in a role play space, whether it's with animals or people that are not of age to give consent, then find help, right? So there are sex therapists, regular therapists that can really help you work through what those impulses may be about and keep you from hurting yourself or others. But for those that just are gravitating towards these kinks and feel that they are in a healthy place that can be contained in that role play, then definitely there are people who are professionals at helping you experience that in a fun, safe, and really sexy way.
Mm-hmm. I love that.
I don't want to let you two go. I know you have your parents and you have
life.
You have things to do other than talk to us, but we would love to talk to you both again because you are just phenomenal humans and what you're bringing to not only the sex world and the world of sexuality, but to the entire planet is really incredible. And I don't say that lightly, and I don't take your work lightly. Really, really so much love for you. How can people not only watch Royal Fetish Films, how can they find you, work with you, and any handles that you want to share, please do, because we have to say goodbye. I'm sad.
How did I get those sex toys too?
Oh yeah.
But you got to send us your Addy, and we'll get
yeah.
it.
We will, but not to all the. They're not saying that to all your listeners.
Right.
Sorry,
Yeah.
just us. We're special.
You can go to for safe for work stuff. You can go to jetsettingjasmine.com or kingnoire.com, and you can find our toys, our music, our writings and articles and all those important things, and our podcast, which is Royal Fetish Radio, Porn and Politics.
And where we're going next.
And where we're going next, because we are about to be on the road in your city. But
Cool.
And country.
Wow.
Nice.
Planet. But then for all of the stuff that your boss is probably already watching, but you don't want to watch on a company computer, you can go to royalfetishxxx.com, kingnoirexxx.com. You can search both of us on OnlyFans, but then on the other socials.
Jet Set Jasmine.
On all the things.
On all the things, yes.
And I'm on like my 18th Instagram, which is the real King Noire.
Because you keep getting it. Do they deactivate you?
Super shadow banned.
Yes, so annoying. They hate sex.
They hate my dick print on Instagram.
Oh, I want to see your dick print.
Oh, you will. I will. We're gonna find him. We're finding both of you. Well, you can find all their links as well.
Yeah.
Twitter is the one at King Noire. You can see all the print and no clothes and all that good stuff. But I'm shadow banner too, so good luck.
Yeah, make sure.
Where's that? It's just honestly like you get shadow banned all over the place. So go to their website, and then you can find a lot of the things. Can't shadow ban your own website yet.
I have to thank you both for hanging out with us and taking the time and being so cool and amazing. And Amy, I think you should send us off because I entered. Now you exit.
Ooh, we're switching it up here. All right. Well, I'm sweating my balls off over here. If you're not watching us on YouTube, we have this video on YouTube. We also have our own social handles, Shameless Sex Podcast.
She doesn't even know anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, TikTok. Go find us on TikTok. Go find us on Instagram. And then we'll also have clips of this. So you'll be little teasers. If you don't want to watch the whole video, you'll get to see some clips. So, and you'll meet these wonderful humans here. Thank you so much, Jet Setting Jasmine and King Noire, for coming on our show. You are awesome. We love the work that you're doing. Thank you so much to all of our listeners. We love you. If you haven't rated us already, please, please, please go to iTunes. And you can also do this on Spotify. Now you can rate us. We love 5 stars. If you don't have time, it'll take you 5 seconds. Just put an emoji, a smile, a heart,
a squirter,
maybe an eggplant. An eggplant. If you like the dick,
there's really
put an eggplant.
fun emojis now.
Yeah, it's a bar. Even a barf emoji.
The manhole. Have you ever seen the manhole one? That one's cool.
What the fuck is the manhole?
It's just a hole. It's like I'll send it to you tomorrow.
That sounds kinky. All right. Anyways, we love you all very, very much. And as April would say, she would say, see you next Tuesday and
ciao for now.